What's the biggest dong move you've witnessed? I just got a brand new Game Boy as a birthday gift when my cousin, who was 5 years older than me, grabs it and smashes it to the floor thinking it was a freaking calculator and saying I didn't really need it cause I was already good at math. Dong move. I hope your parents made his parents buy you a new one. My friend invited me to play kickball with a group of his friends, and being a shy, quiet girl, I thought it would be a easy and fun way to meet new people, compared to parties, which scared the crap out of me. I was on third base, and one of the guys on the opposite team kicks the ball directly towards me. I caught it and was feeling pretty awesome about what a sweet catch it was, when suddenly the dude comes over and throws a fistful of sand into my face, including my open eyes and mouth. It was so mean, I immediately started crying in front of the entire group. He gave me a weak apology when some of the other people called him out on being a jerk. Everyone was in their early 20s, so it wasn't like he wasn't old enough to know better. I spent the rest of the game alone on the sidelines. 9-year-old me was at a baseball game when a foul ball came dribbling down the side of the field. As the bat boy ran out to get it, I ran down the steps waving my arms for the ball, and he looked right at me, tossed it to me, and some dong behind me stood up and snatched it right out of my hands and said, "Sorry kid." Story has a happy ending though, because all 3 sections surrounding us started chanting butthole butthole and he got booed out of the park. And someone who caught a foul ball earlier came and gave me his, and told me who hit it and what inning and everything. Ballpark justice is great justice. I was going through a ridiculous amount of pain when I was 17. I was being eaten alive by my own immune system, but it was undiagnosed. My mother was so worried because I was screaming from the pain every night and passing out and having pain nightmares. She finally decided to let me have painkillers and ease my suffering. I went to the doctor, got a bunch of blood tests, and the doctor said that even though he didn't know what it was, I was obviously in a lot of pain. My mom got the script and filled it and was going to give me one at home when my sister storms into the kitchen and starts berating her about how I would get addicted and that she was a horrible mother for letting me have painkillers. Mom started to cry and my sister just went off on her so bad and threw the painkillers down the drain. My mom then went back to the doctor and said we need something other than painkillers, so the doctor prescribed steroids. I took 3 in 10 days and gained 20 pounds. I never lost. I finally got painkillers when I could go to my own doctor at 18. College essentially. Turns out the entire time my sister was doing all kinds of drugs, probably even mine. I had been working at Tim Hortons, Canadian coffee shop, and a female co-worker of mine had served the man via drive-thru. He had ordered a large coffee, 2 sugars, 2 milk. At Tim Hortons, their coffee is always fresh, therefore always boiling hot. The man noticed his coffee wasn't precisely what he ordered, so instead of going in and saying, "This coffee isn't what I ordered, can I get another one?" or something along those lines, he angrily whips the steaming hot, not to mention completely full, coffee straight at her. She had 1st and 2nd degree burns on her chest, and I think mild burns on her face. But they never found the guy. That's beyond a dong move. I was working as a waitress in a restaurant and the head chef told me to taste some sauce. I said, "May I have a spoon?" and he said, "Just dip your finger in." I said I really would prefer a spoon and he said, "No, go ahead, it's fine." So I went to dip my finger in the sauce and he grabbed my wrist, stuck his face into my face and aggressively said, "Don't ever dip your finger into my sauce again." He actually got fired a few months later for threatening someone with a knife. Oh, I've actually got one. My mom was terminally ill, so I needed my FMLA paperwork signed by her doctor so that I could leave work in case of emergencies. I called them up and the doctor's wife answered, as she was also his secretary. Seems odd to me. So I explained my situation and she began to scream and curse at me, saying that I need to be a patient in order to do this. I don't. She's an idiot. So I told her to have the doctor call me. Long story short, he calls my mom and begins yelling at her about not wanting to sign the paperwork. Keep in mind, she couldn't even hold a phone at this point because her ALS had progressed so quickly. Not really the person to be screaming at. She started crying, so he told her to get a new doctor and hung up. The dong move of the situation. He hung up on my mother and immediately cancelled all of her prescriptions, including the hospital bed prescription, which was already in the process of being sent to our house, and we desperately needed. Having to get a new doctor was incredibly difficult because it was impossible to even get her into a wheelchair at this point. So it caused her a lot of pain to go visit a new doctor and get all her prescriptions again. So we had to get a new doctor because he, for some reason, refused to sign the FMLA paperwork. Dong move. I track disciplinary actions on physicians in my state because of my job. Please report this physician to your state's medical licensing board. It may take a while for your complaint to even be looked at, but a filed complaint and investigation can get this doctor appropriately punished. The things you've described are inexcusable. My buddy won a full ride scholarship to the local university and was overjoyed because his family are working class stiffs and just didn't have enough money to pay for college. All he needed were 3 recommendations saying that the scholarship was deserved. He got the first 2 no problem and decided to go to our Latin teacher for the final one. Because he was a Latin tutor and competed in Certimen. Google it, she would be willing despite her trying to kick us out of AP Latin for bringing her test averages down. Every single day for 2 weeks. He asked her before class if she had signed the papers yet, and she always responded, "I will." Finally, the deadline to turn in the acceptance form was due and she still hadn't signed it. He approached her as I was walking into class and asked her why she didn't sign it. Her response was, "I purposely didn't sign it because I didn't want you to get that scholarship. Goodbye $55,000. Hello crippling debt." I was in junior high when after class a slightly nerdy, very shy student lends one of the big dirtbag jock $5 for lunch, promising him he will pay him back the next day. The next day arrives, and the student asks for his money back from the dirtbag jock. He was relying on the money for lunch that day. The jock looks at him with a nasty look and then starts laughing at the shy student's face, saying he won't pay him back. He even had $5 but just waved in front of his face and continued laughing. This is how school shootings are born. 3 days before a 7-week assessment was due, my design tutor told another student in my class that her work was terrible and that she had to start again. The girl had the same design for 5 weeks, and the tutor could have told her at any point to restart, but chose to wait until it was too late. The girl burst out crying immediately. Dong move. I worked as a pizza delivery driver when I was in high school. Went to this house with a huge order. The guy answered the door and was paying with a credit card. He filled out his portion of the slip and looked me in the eyes and said, "I guess this is where I enter the amount for your tip." Then he drops it on the ground and slams the door in my face. No tip and the biggest dong move I've ever experienced. When this would happen to me, I would accidentally lose their credit card number in a random place. And by accidentally lose, I mean tape it up on the payphone. And by random place, I mean the liquor store where all the addicts hang out front. A guy that is commonly hanging around my old high school friends was at HS with me but never really friends. Call him Bob. We are out at bar and closing the joint. The staff is making it clear that it is time to pack up. We make one final cheers and about 8 pint glasses are all in the air and touching when Bob slams his glass down on top of the rest, shattering them all and raining beer everywhere. Then with a crap-eating grin sprints out of the joint. Follow to the late night pizza joint which has a lineup out the door. We are all standing in line for a while when Bob gets to the cash, orders the last 2 slices of pepperoni, eats one, drops the other one face down on the floor and smears it around with his foot, stands up and walks out. I despise Bob and tell all my friends how much I hate him. Bob is in butthole. Why Bob got through the night with all his teeth I'll never know. In high school we ditched class and were driving around town. My friend bought an orange slushie at the convenience store but as we were driving away decided he didn't really want to drink said slushie. As we were driving past an old man strolling down the sidewalk my friend leaned out the window and chucked the bucket-sized, 98% full, slushie squarely at his head. The look on the old man's face will haunt me until I die. He was just like, "Why?" I had a former friend who did the same thing with a 7-Eleven big gulp. I kicked him out of the car on the spot, and the homeless guy he nailed beat the crap out of him. I figured one good dong move deserved another. I was working out at the gym and right before I was about to do a set on a machine I had literally just adjusted for myself, some guy comes up to it and starts altering all the settings. I excused myself and told him that I was just about to use the machine and he said, "Yeah, I saw you set it up and put your stuff here." but I know you weren't about to use it." He got on it and did about a 5-minute set while I waited there. After he got up to leave, I told him, "Sir, you really aren't going to make a lot of friends that way," and he didn't know what to say. Some kid next to me told me that he noticed the same guy kick 2 different people off their equipment. My parents are Buddhist and are all about sharing. Because of this, even though I had the best squirt gun in the neighborhood, pre-Super Soaker days, I never ever got to use it because my parents would order me to share with the neighbors and I was left using a squirt gun I got out of a Pinata. One day, one of the neighbor kids shows up at the door asking to borrow the squirt gun so he can take it to some family event. Naturally, my parents make me lend it to him. He ends up getting it smashed into about 20 pieces. Then when they hear about this, my parents decide to yell at me for 2 straight hours about not taking care of my stuff. You should have reminded them about impermanence. Nothing lasts forever, so don't get attached to material things. When I was working at a video store in San Francisco, I saw one of our regulars come in, stop, pick something up off the ground, and walk to the nearest employee. The nearest employee was Christine, who was off to the side talking on the phone with someone. "Hey," the regular says, "someone lost their membership card." Christine rolls her eyes. "I'm actually on my break," she says as if it is a big effort, and turns away from the guy. The regular didn't know what to say. I was standing nearby and I didn't either. It is like we were watching someone step out of a bad sitcom. That is how over the top the situation seemed. I walked up to him and apologized for the way she acted and thanked him for picking up the card. I knew the guy's name, so I hooked up his account with a free rental and went back to shelving returns. I was coming up from the back when I saw the regular checking out and leaving. It's important to note that we had trouble with the front door when it was windy. If it wasn't shut all the way, the wind would catch it and keep it open and directing all the cold wind right to the counter where we rang people up and checked in. Christine was back from her break and saw the regular leaving, and somehow she had the nerve to ask the regular, "Can you shut the door, please?" Without slowing down, he said over his shoulder, "Sorry, I'm on my break." I didn't even try to hold in my laughter. A homeless man went up to a group of people outside a pub, who were a bit drunk by this point, and asked for some spare change. One of the guys pulled out a 50p coin, waved it in front of him and dropped it down a drain. Then all of his friends laughed at the homeless man. I'll keep this short. I had went to the outer regions of Los Angeles to meet a friend of mine. I was waiting for her in a plaza which also had a Jenny Craig in it. An obese woman walks out of the Jenny Craig and was having a smoke near the front stairs. A pickup truck with some teenagers screeches into the plaza and stops right in front of this woman. Then they proceed to throw cupcakes at her and drive away. Yeah, the scene was as ridiculous as you can imagine. That is one of the biggest dong moves I have witnessed. In high school, one guy struck a deal with his friends that he would wear his Harry Potter t-shirt every day for a month without washing it. If he made it to the end of the month without washing it, taking it off, he would get $20 from each of his friends. They were general dongs about it and smeared a lot of stuff on him throughout the month, trying to make it harder for him to keep up his end of the deal. The absolute worst was on the last day of the bet. One guy didn't want to pay up, so he peed in a cup and threw it all over the other guy at school. He went to first period smelling so horrible it made all of us gag. Halfway through first period he finally gave up, walked out of class, went to the gym, and changed into his gym clothes. I felt so bad for him that he'd lost the bet. I gave him $20. Seriously dong move. 10 years old, moving, in front of my eyes, all my toys in one box, is sold in front of me for $7. Dong move mom, dong move. Toy Story 3 must have been devastating. I was once at this restaurant when I saw the fight erupt between 2 fathers. They both had sons. One was probably 7 or 8, and the other was younger, maybe 4 or 5. The older kid pushed the younger one down and the young one started crying and bawling his eyes out, telling his dad what happened. The younger kid's dad then approached the older one's father and told him what happened and was looking for at least an apology, maybe a reprimanding for the aggressor kid. The older's dad replied, "Deal with it." I could tell the younger kid's dad was taken aback by it, so he went up to the 7-year-old boy and shoved him to the floor, then took his family and left. I'm not quite sure who had the more dongish moves there, but it provided a good laugh. Perfect response from the younger kid's dad. Emo went directly to the source of the problem. You wanna bully someone smaller than you better be ready to get bullied by someone bigger than you. I was in a youth hostel in Poland where 2 Norwegian guys had come in at about 5 AM, completely trashed, and seeing someone casually walking around in their boxer shorts, one of them decided to one-up them by going up to the young, pretty, female receptionist, dropping his pants, showing her his junk, and then sticking it in the burger he had and asking her if she wanted a bite. The burger had a load of chili sauce in it, however, so moments later he was screaming chili dong for the remainder of his stay. He was known by everyone else in the hostel as Chili Dong. Gotta love justice. I'm 6 feet 8 inches. I hate flying. Hashtag feature me. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.